Training specialist and seminar designer with the University College, which means I do a couple of these each semester. I also do some training with the staff and students, and I do some academic counseling as well. So this is stress management techniques. Nobody has ever been stressed, right? It's midterm time, isn't it? And then give you some techniques that you can actually walk out of here and use on a regular basis to help you get through stress. So when I say the word stress, what do you typically think of? Yes? Okay. What else? I hear something. Headaches. Chemistry. So grades. What?
Juggling life and thing.
Okay. So juggling, balance. Good. To your body, stress is simply synonymous with change. It means anytime that something is different or changed, it can be stressful. So stress can be good and it can be bad. Good stress would be getting into college. That's an exciting time, but it is a change, and so your body interprets that as a stress. There's also what we call imagined stress or worrying. If you are thinking about something that is coming up or worrying about something that might happen or that will happen and you're not prepared for it, like a test, then that's also stressful on your body. And the body's going to have some physical reactions to that. We've mentioned a couple. Somebody said headaches. What else happens when you get stressed?
Anxiety.
Great, I heard a couple things. What? I'm sorry, say it again.
Anxiety.
Anxiety, okay.
I'm gonna get sick.
Get sick. Blood pressure goes up. You sleep. Okay. So there's some. We're going to talk about the rest of them in a minute. There are also 4 types of stress. The first one is just general stress. Everybody gets that. That is the normal stress that comes with whatever it is that you have in your life. So generally it's a short period of time and you don't need to really do much about it except get through whatever it is that you're going through. The second kind of stress is called cumulative stress. This is the kind of stress that tends to build up, say around midterms, finals, or just other weeks or even maybe a little bit longer where you've got a specific amount of time, a longer period of time, and things are sort of building up. This point it becomes a little bit more difficult to alleviate your symptoms. So you're having a little bit of trouble getting through that. The normal things that you do to alleviate your stress are not working. Next one then would be acute traumatic stress. This is something that happens when you have a particular event come up. So if you're sick for a period of time, that's stressful on your body, and it will eventually hopefully go away. It's also what we consider a normal reaction to abnormal events. So a car accident might cause some stress, something like that. But it's a one-time specific thing that happens, you get stressed out, and then it sort of is over. But it's not a normal, everyday occurrence, hopefully. And then the last one you've heard probably a lot mentioned, especially in relation to soldiers and people coming back from the war, but it's called post-traumatic stress. And so this is where you have stress that continues even after the event is long gone. So, for example, I had a friend who was in a car accident, and she was driving on the highway when she had this accident, and so she had some post-traumatic issues with being able to drive on the highway. That was something that she was not able to handle anymore, so she actually had to seek some help for that. And that kind of stress will not go away on its own. Very, very rarely can somebody work through that. There are lasting effects of that, so you need to sort of get some help or seek some help. All right, so again, we talked about some of the physical and other reactions. In your handout, on the second page, is a little box. It's called "What is your stress MO?" So if you need a pencil, I've got some up here. But what I want you to do is take a minute to read through some of those effects. There are physical reactions, behavioral, emotional, and also intellectual reactions that we have to stress. Alright, so things like your heart rate increasing, you're sweating, we talked about blood pressure goes up. There's some dots in there in case there's something that's not on this list that you personally experienced. But dry mouth, headaches, and then behavioral reaction. I didn't realize that yawning was a sign of stress. It's not when I was tired, but apparently that can be a sign of something also. So just take a minute to think about what kind of reaction you have when you have stress in your life.
So do we circle them?
Yeah, go ahead and circle them or underline them or whatever you want to do. Sorry, I really didn't finish that. Yeah,
Count to 10.
count to 10. Okay, so that's something that you do.
Yeah.
That's good, actually a very good reaction. Okay, so go to sleep, you're tired. Yes,
Push-ups.
push-ups. Okay, good. That actually sort of leads us right into our next activity, which is how do we respond? So there are certain responses that we can't control, right? When we get stressed out about something. So if we're stressed out and our blood pressure goes up, that's not something that you are physically in control of. It's just some physical reaction that your body has. You can't stop it. But some of the things that we just mentioned, are ways that you can combat stress. So there are good ways to address it and there are bad ways to address it. We've got two good ways. What are some other things that we can do?
Smoke some weed.
Okay?
I had to take drugs.
Yes.
Violence.
Violence?
Because it's not nasty.
Yeah. You get angry and you lash out. Wait.
Isolate. You isolate yourself.
Isolate yourself. Okay. Would you consider that a bad thing or a good thing?
I mean, some people might think differently. Every person might say they think it's good.
Yeah. And I guess it would sort of depend. If you're going to get violent, isolating yourself might not be such a bad idea, right? Yes.
Drinking under bed.
Okay. What else? Fight what?
She had like getting application with someone.
Okay. And I forgot, somebody said earlier, sleeping.
Writing could be something good.
What?
Writing.
Writing. So like journaling. Yes.
You can pray.
Praying.
That's good. That's good. It's not bad. Heart rate.
Okay. Okay. So, yes.
Take deep breaths.
Okay, good.
Just fetching out, fetching TV.
As long as those things don't go into avoidance, you're in good shape. Yes. Sex? Good thing or bad thing, do you think? I guess it would depend on personal situations. Some other things might be overeating. I'm a chocoholic, so that would be mine.
put vegetable in another one too, cause like, you know, I will vegetable. What is, veg?
Like chilling out,
Oh.
watching TV, just kind of.
Okay, like that potato.
So if you can do it to the point where you're procrastinating and not addressing the issue. So I think we've really covered a lot of things. Some of the other, let's see if there's anything else. Oh, getting a massage, yoga, punching a pillow, anything like that that are good. Okay, so now we're actually going to practice some. And I've got 4 techniques in your handout. And the way these are going to work is there are 2 that are what we call proactive techniques. Okay? You may know what I mean? Yes?
It's kind of like something good and positive.
And it is also something that you do sort of in advance of whatever happens. So the first 2 are things that you can do on a regular basis. You sort of build them into a routine. They're going to ease your overall stress level. So you can do them when you do get stressed out, but there are also things that you can do, like I said, just right before class or at night before you go to bed or just whatever. So the first one is called meditation for the impatient. I am very much a product of the very now society kind of thing where I don't have time to sit and think about meditating or worry about it. There are a lot of really good tutorials if you go on YouTube and just type in meditation, things that will walk you through the whole process that takes half an hour, 45 minutes, or an hour even, if you want to do something like that. However, my problem with this, and I don't know about anybody else, is that when I start to do those things, the little nagging thoughts get in my head, like you're supposed to be doing this, or you're late on this project, or whatever else is coming up. So this is one that you can do in about 5 or 10 minutes and just be done. But it does have very good physiological effects. When I've got in your handout at the top and at the bottom of each page, you don't have to do this right now. You can wait until you're actually feeling sort of stressed out, but you can do a stress level sort of self-test and see where you are right now before you start the exercise and then where you are when we're done with it. Okay? So the first thing that you need to do is to get yourself into a nice relaxed position. Okay? You want to sit up a little bit, not too slouching because you want to make sure that you've got nice blood flow. You put your heel, I don't know if y'all can see this, but you put your heels together on the floor. Okay, so your feet are like this. And then just sort of relax, and so they'll start to separate a little bit. Okay? Doesn't necessarily have to go, it says to a 90-degree angle. To me that was uncomfortable, so just whatever feels natural to you. Then what you want to do is bring your palms out, your hands out, and your palms up towards the ceiling. And just sort of let your fingers curl up as they do naturally. Don't try to keep them flat. Okay? And bring it down onto your lap. Or if you've got a desk in front of you, you can bring it onto the desk. Okay? You want your shoulders to just sort of relax. Okay? You're not trying to slump or lean forward. You can let your mouth go, so that I can't because I keep talking. But so that your mouth is open a little bit, let your jaw sort of relax, and close your eyes. And what you want to do is breathe in and out slowly through your nose. And you're going to focus your attention on your breathing. Think about each breath as you take it. In the book that I got, this recommends that you say the word 1 every time you breathe out. Again, for me, that would mess up because then I'd go 2, and I'd go 3, and so I keep counting. So if you could find something else that works for you, that's okay too. But in your mind, you just want to sit nice. Humor's good for stress, too. Breathe in and out through in through your nose and out through your mouth. Yeah, no falling asleep. Alright. And you would go ahead and continue that for 5 minutes, so I'm not going to make you actually sit here and do that long. But that's your first exercise.
That works.
Okay? It's a really good thing, like I said, to do, especially sometime before bed. You can do it before a test.
Yeah, I got a question.
Yes.
No, let me do it.
Okay.
Someone told me, like, to calm you down, yeah, you hit your chest.
Hit your chest?
Yeah.
I'm not familiar with that
It
one.
resets your brain.
Huh.
Resets your brain.
I'll have to look that up.
Don't listen to you.
I swear.
Don't listen to you.
They said,
I want to say that was a pressure point, but that's not the pressure point.
Where your pressure point is?
The pressure point is right here.
So you do it right here?
No, you're not supposed to do, I don't think you're supposed to do that at all. I'm
Nah.
just saying.
I swear.
Cause you hit your pressure point too hard, you can knock yourself
Yeah, you can knock yourself out.
No, I've never tried that. I don't
And you
know.
won't be stressed no more.
I'll have to look into that one. But I'll be okay. All right. Did you have another question? Did you have a question?
Nah, he does.
That was it, okay. All right, so that's the first one. There are a lot of good things. You bring up a good point. I don't know about that specifically, but there are a lot of good things as far as like acupuncture and acupressure that you can check into. I bought an acupressure mat on Amazon for about 10 or 15 bucks, I think, that just sort of you lay down and it has little spikies in the right places and it feels good. So there are a lot of different things that you can do. But again, that exercise is a really good one to do right before you bed. It's a good one before a test. You don't necessarily have to close your eyes. I know that it's a little embarrassing when you're in a room full of people to sit there with your eyes closed, so you can leave them open if you want, but it's just the breathing, the act of doing that is a really good thing. And it's a good one to just sort of incorporate into some kind of routine. All right, so the next one, how many people ever get kind of stiff shoulders and neck, especially when you're looking at the computer for hours on end and typing? Okay, so this is really good for that kind of stress because that is stressful to your body. It's called turn, turn, turn. All right, so the first thing that you're going to do is you can get in any position. You can do this standing, sitting, whatever, but you're going to bend your head down to your chest and then lift it back up. And bend down and lift it back up. You do that 4 times. And then you're going to lean to the left and back straight. And then lean to the left and back up straight. You do that 4 times. Then of course we go to the right. So you lean down, try to get your ear as close to your shoulder as you can, but you don't want to lift your shoulders up. You want to keep them nice and relaxed. And then you want to tip your head back and repeat that 4 times. Okay? Now what we're going to do is go back to where we put our chin to our chest, and you're just going to slowly roll until it's back down to your chest. And then what you want to do is go the other way, and then switch it back up again. And so you do that 4 times, 2 times each direction. Okay? That's all there is to that. But it's a very good muscle releaser. It will release those stressed out muscles that you've got. Any questions? Comment? Okay. So those are proactive things. Those are things that you can do if you stop, if you know you're going to be working a long time on the computer and you're going to be typing. Before you get to the point where your neck and shoulders are stiff, you want to start doing something like that. Before you're feeling really stressed out, you can sit and do that meditation. When you get stressed out, when you start to have those problems, the physical or the whatever reactions that you're having, one of the first things that happens, especially with those physical reactions like your headache, feeling sick, all of that, come from actually a lack of oxygen. Because what we tend to do when we get stressed out is we start breathing very, very shallowly. Has anybody played a wind instrument before or sung in choir? Okay, they talk to you about diaphragm breathing? Okay. Of course, your air goes into your lungs, but the diaphragm is also very important in your breathing. And that's where you want to breathe from. What happens when you get stressed out is you start to sort of panic, and you get these really, really shallow breaths, and your chest goes up and down real fast, but that's not healthy. That's not going to get you enough oxygen, so it's going to cause a lot of other physical problems. So the first thing that you want to do is put a hand on your chest and a hand on your stomach, okay? So that you can sort of keep track of what's going. What you're going to do, get yourself into a nice, comfortable position, close your mouth, and what you're going to do is you want to draw in a breath for about 8 counts. But here's the thing, you want your chest to stay exactly where it is, and your stomach is going to go out. So the exact opposite of what we all try to do when we're walking around. We all always suck our stomachs in. You actually want to push it out a little bit, because that's where your diaphragm is. It's a little bit above your stomach. So what it's doing when you do that is you're making sure that you get oxygen and air all the way down to the bottom of your lungs. Okay? So you want your chest very still. And then when you breathe out, you want to use your stomach muscles to push that air out. So in that case, your stomach's going to shrink back in.
We should be breathing through our nose.
Yes. And keep breathing through your nose. And if it helps, you can breathe in through your nose and not through your mouth. But the idea is that the more oxygen you get, the better you're going to feel. And so this is one, again, it doesn't matter whether you're sitting or standing, as long as your breathing is coming from down here. You ever look at a baby when it's crying? That's what happens. Its stomach's going in and out. That's where the babies are taking in their air from. And somewhere along the way, as we grow up, we tend to start breathing more shallowly. And I'm not sure why that happens, but that is a bad reaction when you get stressed out. So we want to make sure that we avoid that. All right. What exactly are you going to do with the film for this?
It's for medium practicum.
Does it go on anything?
We just give it back to University College.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to hope I'm not going to lose my job for this one. The next one is called My Mantra. And what it is, anybody know what a mantra is? A mantra is a little saying. It is something that you can repeat to yourself. It is something that you sort of tell yourself. So that breathing thing, you can start to use this at the same time. And there are some examples in your handout. But what I wanted to do is tell you a little story about one. You're a little nervous about this, but all right. All right. So you got two little southern ladies sitting at the country club or wherever. They're having lunch together. And one of them has old money. Okay, she's been around for a long time. The other one's a little bit newer. She's kind of married a little older man, hadn't been there that long. And so the older lady's trying to tell her about all these things and trying to impress her with how wonderful she is. So she's, well, my husband, you see this diamond ring? He just got it for me. It's our anniversary, and it's 3 carats, and costs thousands and thousands of dollars, and just how wonderful it is. And the woman just kind of wipes her mouth with her napkin very nicely. And she says, well, that's nice. So the woman's expecting a little bit bigger reaction from the second woman, and so she tries again, and she says, see that new Mercedes that's sitting out in the parking lot over there? My husband brought that home for me. I didn't even need a new car. He just drove it right off the lot, brought it right home for me. Got every single thing that you could possibly want. Top of the line. It's the best car there is. She looks at her again, and the other lady says, well, that's nice. She gets a little more frustrated. That's not the reaction she was expecting. She wanted her to fawn sort of all over her. She tries again. She says, well, you know what? Next month, like I said, is our anniversary, and my husband, he's going to take us on a round-the-world cruise. We're going to go all across the globe. We're going to see every continent, every country I've ever wanted to be on. We're going to go for 2 whole months. It's just going to be forever. We're going to be gone. And the other woman just sort of fussing with her lunch, and she looks at her, and she says, well, that's nice. And, of course, this lady, she can't stand it anymore. She lost it. She said, well, that's nice. That's nice. What do you mean that's nice? I tell you all these wonderful things my husband has done for me, and all you can say is that's nice? Well, what's your husband ever done for you? The woman sort of sat up, nice and proper, and she says, well, my husband, he sent me to finishing school, where they taught me to say that's nice instead of F you. So you see, her mantra was, that's nice. And I learned that from a friend of mine. She told me this joke. She was a therapist, actually, and I had somebody in my life who was causing a lot of stress for me. And so what she suggested was that I come up with a sort of response that I could say to that person that would be, in my head, the F you that I wanted to say, but would actually be more appropriate than that. So that might help control some of the violence they're fighting that we've got there as a bad reaction. So, anyway, the purpose of a mantra is to give you some perspective, okay? To remind you of what's really important, to think about the fact that, you know, it doesn't really matter if you're not, don't have a diamond ring or a round the world cruise or a Mercedes or all of these other things that somebody else might say, or it's only one test, it's only one grade, it's only one class, it's not the end of the world. You know, whatever it is that you need to say to sort of keep yourself in that. What? Did you?
Oh, no, shit. Working on my mantra.
Okay. So you can think about what might be an appropriate mantra that you could say either out loud or in your head. All right. A little bit further in your handout are a couple of other suggestions. So those are the 4 techniques that are very, a little bit more physical and active. But there are a couple of other things that I want to point out. This one is called the Holmes and Ray Stress Scale for College Students. Holmes and Ray were 2 scientists. They developed a stress scale for adults, and then they've also now moved on to college students and children. What you do is look at that list and highlight or check off, and you don't have to do this right now because it involves math, and I don't know how about you guys, but if I don't have my calculator, I can't add. So you check off the items that have occurred within the last 12 months. So 12 months, not the calendar year, so from last February to this February. You check off any of those things that have happened to you. Okay? Then what you do is you add up the points. There's a value, you add up that event value, and get your total score. If in the last 12 months you have a score of 250 or greater, you are probably overstressed. If you have a low, even, and you have a higher chance of having an illness or an accident or something that's related to that stress. Even if you have a low tolerance, there are certain people who have a very low tolerance for stress. You might get stressed out at a lower level. So if you had something like 150 points, but you don't have a high stress tolerance, you still might also get sick. The point with that is to figure out, really how many things have happened. And you can see on that list that some of that stuff isn't necessarily bad. Changing your major can be a really good thing. I talked to somebody earlier this week or last week I guess, whose parents had sort of pushed him towards a particular major. Not a good fit for him. When he got into the major he liked, it was a whole lot less stressful. Classes were easier, things were better, but it's still a stress. New romantic partner, a new relationship can be wonderful, but it also adds stress. So think about those kinds of things. If you have a high score on here, you might want to see somebody at the counseling center or somewhere to talk about some of the issues that are coming up and make sure that you have.
What's considered a high school?
A high score would be anything 250 or higher. Some sort of award, then that's another good one. So yeah, again, you're getting a grant or scholarship or something. On the next page, there's an example of something called the stress busting notebook. There are a couple of different variations for this. You can type it, it doesn't actually have to be a physical notebook. But one thing is to just write down the things that stress you out. The variation, and I like this, again, this actually came from my therapist friend. You create 3 columns on a piece of paper. The first one is, how am I feeling? So when you're starting to feel stressed out, write down what that is. I'm feeling overwhelmed, I'm feeling anxiety, frustrated, scared, whatever it is that you're feeling, you put it in that column. Sometimes from just that point, you're good. You don't have to do anything else. Because a lot of times what happens is we have these frustrating feelings, and as soon as you put a name to it, it's like they've lost their power. You get a lot better. Then the next one, if you're not feeling better about it, is what am I thinking? So another thing that we tend to do when we get stressed out is we have a lot of negative self-talk. I'm going to flunk this test, I'm going to flunk this class, I'm going to flunk out of college, my parents are going to kill me, whatever it is that you've got going on. Most of the time, those are not rational thoughts. Okay, yes, you might fail the test, but are you sure you're going to fail out of college? Are your parents really going to kill you? Um, Do we need to plan the funeral now?
Yes.
So what you want to think about is what are the realities of that? It's one test. I'm doing okay in my other classes. I've been studying for the last 5 days, I'm good. Whatever it is that the reality, or whatever is the reality of that, then you put it in that third column. So what you're doing is you're sort of talking yourself down, because what we find ourselves doing is it becomes a cycle. And it's one that's very hard to break. So when you're sitting there saying, my parents are going to kill me, I'm going to flunk, I can't do this, that keeps going. If you get it positive, I can do this, I'm going to be all right. Then you've got a positive cycle. Lowers your blood pressure, eases your breathing, eases headaches, all of that other stuff. And last page, I'm not going to read all of these to you, but our 101 new or additional stress busting techniques. So, anybody have any questions? Okay, I forgot to bring my business cards, so if you need me, if anybody wants to talk about this stuff more, I do a lot of that's my email, or I am 237 Alexander Dunn Building, on the corner near Deanwood. But I'm good, so if you don't have any other, yeah. I don't know if I have enough. So please take one today.